Okay, let's dive in. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We're here to cut through the noise, get you those key insights. Today, we're tackling XRP. It's seen some, well, pretty contradictory moves lately, an asset that really keeps things interesting. We've got the latest market updates, a pretty big announcement, and some solid analysis from our sources lined up. Our mission, simple: break down XRP's recent market action and that ongoing legal saga. We want to find those surprising bits, the key takeaways that help you grasp what's really going on.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about XRP, even before we get into today's specifics, is just how resilient it's been. I mean, despite facing this massive, drawn-out legal fight, it's consistently stayed up there.
Yeah.
Top 10 altcoin by market cap. That persistence, holding its ground amid all that uncertainty, it really sets the scene for the kind of push and pull we're seeing now. Shows the strength of its community, maybe its tech too.
Absolutely. And speaking of push and pull, here's where it gets really interesting, almost ironic. Our sources point to this huge positive step for XRP happening right after what many saw as, well, an unfavorable court development. The big news, CoinMamie. They've added support for XRP.
Right.
And not just a little bit,
Yeah.
across more than 28,000 retail spots in the U.S.
28,000, that's a massive footprint.
It really is. Think about it. That means folks can walk into thousands of places and buy or sell XRP using actual cash, especially for retail users, right? They're a big part of the XRP community.
Definitely. For them, this isn't some abstract concept. It's tangible. It connects the digital world to cash, making it easier for everyday stuff, maybe even shaking up how people send money home.
Okay, so a really significant step forward on the practical, real-world side. But then, almost in the same breath, we have to turn to the other side of the story, that legal battle. It just keeps going.
It really does.
So soon after this CoinMamie news, we get updates on the legal front. Judge Annalisa Torres ruled against a joint motion from the SEC and Ripple. They were trying to sort of fast-track an appeal on certain issues.
That's the gist of it, yeah. The joint motion for indicative ruling.
Right. So for those of us not deep in legal speak, what does that ruling actually mean?
In simple terms, it means they can't jump ahead to appeal parts of the earlier ruling while the main case is still finishing up its current phase.
Oh, okay. So the bottom line is this case, which has already been going for, what, over 4.5 years?
Unbelievably, yes.
It's just going to keep grinding on. No quick resolution there.
Pretty much. Which, for any asset trying to get wider adoption, that kind of lingering uncertainty is definitely a hurdle.
It raises questions, doesn't it, about their strategy?
It does. And Ripple's top lawyer, Stuart Alderati, he addressed it directly. He put out a statement. Let me see. Here it is. He said, "With this, the ball is back in our court. The court gave us two options: dismiss our appeal challenging the finding on historic institutional sales, or press forward with the appeal. Stay tuned."
Okay, so basically, keep fighting or drop that specific challenge for now.
Right. But then he adds, and this is key, either way, XRP's legal status as not a security remains unchanged. In the meantime, it's business as usual.
So they're really emphasizing that core point, the earlier ruling that said XRP itself isn't inherently a security for many sales.
Exactly. That part, the status for programmatic sales and other distributions, isn't affected by this specific procedural ruling. Alderati's making it clear. But pushing forward, even knowing it'll take longer, shows they're in it for the long haul. They want total clarity, even if it's a marathon.
Business as usual, despite the marathon.
That's the message. But it also highlights just how long and complex navigating these regulatory things can be. It's costly. It takes time.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of navigating complexity, things move so fast in this space. Opportunities pop up, challenges arise. If you're thinking about getting involved with digital assets like these, well, having the right setup is pretty crucial.
Good point. You need to be ready.
So just a quick thought here. If you haven't done it yet, maybe consider getting registered on some reputable exchanges. It's really a fundamental first step to explore this area safely. And look, to keep up with all these twists and turns as they happen, make sure you subscribe to our Telegram channel. We put all the useful links for exchanges and the channel itself right in the description below this deep dive. Worth checking out.
Okay, so back to the immediate impact. How did the market react to this latest court news?
Predictably, perhaps.
Maybe. Our sources show XRP's price took a hit right after the ruling came out, fell about 4.5% over 24 hours. It's sitting just under, $2.10 right now? Looking at the week, it's down about 3.4%.
Yeah, and that really tells a story, doesn't it?
It does. It shows just how sensitive the market still is to any legal news, even when you've got this fantastic adoption news happening almost simultaneously.
Right. The legal shadow seems to loom large, at least in the short term.
So you've got these two powerful forces pushing in opposite directions. How do we make sense of that? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You have this huge real-world utility boost, 28,000 more places to use cash for XRP. Massive. And then you had the continuation, the dragging out of this major legal fight. Prolonged uncertainty.
Utility versus uncertainty.
Exactly. And what it tells us, I think, is that while the long-term foundation of utility and adoption might be getting stronger for XRP, the immediate market sentiment, especially in crypto, reacts very, very strongly to legal and regulatory headlines, often more strongly than to adoption news.
So perceived risk outweighs actual growth, short term.
Often, yes. It's a really key insight into investor psychology in this space. Even huge steps towards mainstream use can get overshadowed by that legal cloud. It's just a classic case of how regulatory risk, even if it's just procedural delays, can temporarily trump solid practical progress.
A reminder that the path forward isn't always smooth.
Definitely not. It's full of these legal twists and turns, even as the tech pushes ahead.
Okay, that was certainly a lot to unpack there. Hopefully you found that as interesting as we did. What we've really seen is this dual story playing out for XRP. Big steps in real-world use, making it more accessible.
Tangible progress.
Right. But running right alongside that is the ongoing, seemingly endless legal battle with the SEC. Understanding how these two things interact, how they push and pull, is just so important if you're following this space, whether you've been in it for years or are just curious.
And it leaves us with a really provocative question to mull over, doesn't it? Looking ahead, for an asset like XRP, what ultimately matters more in the long run? Is it that widespread, practical use, the ability to solve real problems, be easily accessible like with CoinMe?
The utility argument.
Yeah, or is it getting that final definitive stamp of approval from regulators, resolving those big legal questions to clear away all the uncertainty? How do those fundamental drivers, utility and legal clarity, balance out against the market's sometimes knee-jerk reactions to daily news? It's something the whole industry is grappling with.
A crucial question indeed. Well, if you enjoyed this deep dive, if you got some valuable insights, please do us a favor. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Give this deep dive a thumbs up. A like really helps us out. And definitely hit that notification bell. That way, you won't miss any of our future deep dives. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll catch you on the next one.